Story 1. I was having an especially overwhelming shift, and about 3 hours into a 6-hour shift, two people walked in who were well known for being divorced and openly despising each other. They made no effort to hide their hostility from the servers and staff, and were generally loud and rude to everyone, including other guests. Every other weekend, they would come in to go over paperwork and discuss divorce-related matters, and whichever server had the misfortune of serving them always received sympathy from the rest of us. I had the pleasure of serving these delightful individuals a few times, and every experience was uniquely bizarre. But let's focus on this particular one. They walked in, and as luck would have it, it was my turn in the rotation. Yikes. But I figured the guy and I were on good terms because, during a previous shift, I had complimented his dinosaur shirt. His ex-wife had mocked him for it, but I told her I thought it was a cool shirt. He and I ended up high-fiving, and honestly, it was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. I approached their table and asked what I could get started for their drinks. Right away, I could tell it was going to be a tense experience. They were both snappy and rude, but I did my best to stay friendly. Fast forward to when I was taking their orders, and the guy asked for 4 eggs. Now, at our restaurant, we double our yolks, meaning if you order 4 eggs, you actually receive 8. I explained this to him, but he insisted that he wanted 4 eggs. So, I clarified that the system would register it as 2 eggs on the receipt. He immediately refused, saying, "No, I want 4 eggs." At this point, I wasn't sure how else to explain it to him, but I gave it one last attempt. I reassured him that he would indeed receive 4 eggs on his plate, but the receipt would say 2. Once again, he shook his head and said, "No, I don't want to pay for 2, I want to pay for 4. I was officially more confused than he was. But fine, I wrote it down exactly as he requested and entered the order manually because, of course, we didn't have a button for 4 eggs since, again, we always double them. The head cook called me over, looked at the ticket, and said, "4?" I nodded and replied, "That's what the customer ordered." He sighed, said okay, and proceeded to make the most glorious over-easy sheet of 8 eggs, complete with a side of bacon. When the order was ready, I served it to him, and the moment he looked down at his plate, his face twisted in confusion. "This isn't what I ordered," he complained. I smiled and replied, "Yes, it is." He stared at the plate for a moment before grumbling, "Fine, I'll take it." At the end of my shift, I got scolded for how it played out, but honestly, it was so worth it. The look on his face when I served him the eggs was priceless. My coworkers were cracking up and told me they wished they had been the ones to serve him instead. One of my favorite memories from working at that place. Story 2. I've been reading stories about entitled people at airports, and it reminded me of an incident I witnessed about 12 years ago. At the time, I was working in the information technology department of a bank, and one of our technology suppliers was launching new hardware that they were eager for us to purchase. To persuade us, the supplier offered to take a few of us on a study tour to their site in Montpellier. The plan was straightforward. They would fly us there, arrange our accommodation in a hotel for a few nights, treat us to nice meals, and generally try to impress us while showcasing their latest technology. The only drawback was that they had booked our flights from Gatwick Airport on a budget airline. For the record, this is not a criticism of the airline. They were fantastic on the day. To get to Gatwick, I had to endure a long train journey from Scotland to London, followed by a trip through the underground system, and then the express train to the airport. That kind of travel is never an enjoyable start to a trip, but things got worse when we arrived at the check-in area. Several staff members were off sick, which meant that the check-in lines were moving at an unbearably slow pace. The queue was massive, and that's when I first noticed our entitled traveler. Oh boy, was he displeased about having to wait in that line, and he made sure that everyone knew about it. As it turned out, he was part of the same study tour as me. We had already been standing in line for a couple of hours, and as the gate closing time got closer, the stress levels in the queue began to rise. This particular individual, however, was the loudest of all. Out came the usual complaints. "I have a very important meeting. No, you're going on a fully funded business trip. I paid a lot of money for this. I shouldn't be treated this way. Actually, the vendor covered all the costs. I want to speak to someone in charge, right now. That last outburst seemed to get the attention of the airport police. They walked over, pulled him out of the line, and gave him that classic lecture, the kind that starts with, "I suggest you calm down, sir." It was around this time that one of the airline staff members tapped me on the arm and asked, "Are you flying to Montpellier?" I confirmed that I was, and she directed me straight to the desk for check-in. The airline staff had realized that time was running out, so they began pulling Montpellier passengers from the queue to process them quickly. Before I knew it, I was through security and on my way. The last glimpse I had of the entitled traveler was when the police escorted him back to his spot in the queue, just as our flight to Montpellier officially closed. We never saw him on the study tour. It was a real shame because the vendor had arranged some amazing activities for us. We got to visit a vineyard for a wine tasting, enjoy a meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant, and even attend a pop-up nightclub on the beach. Oh, and of course, we also got to see the supplier's latest high-tech hardware. It's too bad someone missed out on all of that. Story 3. Here in the UK, bus companies aren't exactly known for giving great service, but they usually get you to your destination in time. Today was a pretty bad day regarding bus travel. However, firstly, my usual bus to work had left earlier than it was supposed to, so I missed it. That wasn't an issue, however, as there was another bus route that would also get me to work on time. So I board the following bus, and things start as normal as the bus leaves. I'm just browsing my phone and whatnot as one does when on a bus. About 5 to 10 minutes into the journey, however, I notice some passengers start to mumble about how the bus is going the wrong way. As they look concerned, I don't use this bus route too often, so I paid little attention to it as I wasn't sure if they were right. Suddenly, one passenger gets off the bus in frustration. Clearly, he wasn't at his destination, but it was as if he'd accepted he wouldn't get to where he needed to be on time and gave up, or just chose to walk. The bus continues as more murmurs continue, until shortly after, the driver stops the bus and asks the passengers, "Is this not the way to destination X?" Everyone simultaneously shouts, "No." The driver gets off the bus and starts to phone the bus company for help. I hear people say it's going to take 15 minutes to get to the end destination from that spot, which was an issue for me as I needed to get there in 10 minutes. For the next 5 minutes, the driver keeps speaking into the phone before getting back into his seat, closing the door and starting the bus. You'd think that'd be the end of it, but as he starts the bus, he attempts to drive while someone is giving him directions on the phone. He realizes he can't drive and hold the phone at the same time, so calls to the passengers and asks if one of us could speak on his phone and give him directions. Everybody was stunned at this question, and nobody could really comprehend what he asked. He first asked a man at the back for help, who understandably refused. Suddenly, a woman up front offered to be the person to help direct the driver. It was quite bizarre. So we do get to the correct destination, but with a passenger holding the driver's phone and directing him as if she were a sat-nav. To add insult to injury, mere meters before the final destination, the bus stopped and the driver got out, swapping places with another bus driver. As they were swapping places, the driver kept ranting for like a minute or two about the issue and how he told them he didn't know the bus route. I was about 30 minutes late to work through this. Story 4. I work at a dog hotel that caters to a wealthier clientele. As a canine caretaker, my job involves feeding, walking, training, and administering medication to the dogs. Fortunately, I don't have to interact with people much, which I am very grateful for. However, there are times when I have to return a dog to its owner, and sometimes those owners turn out to be entitled individuals who are rude and demanding. It's never fun dealing with arrogance, but last night's shift at work took an unexpected turn. I was taking a poodle mix named Curly out for a walk when I received a call on my walkie-talkie, informing me that Curly's owner had arrived to pick him up. Per hotel policy, we always take the dogs outside for a bathroom break before returning them to their owners. Apparently, this particular owner, let's call her Karen, was unaware of this rule. As I walked past the hallway with Curly, heading outside, I heard her shrieking from 2 closed-door hallway sections away. The hotel is designed with doors separating each hallway to prevent escaped dogs from running too far, so the fact that I could hear her through multiple barriers was already a bad sign. Curly finished his business, and we headed to the lobby where Karen was waiting. Security cameras recorded our entire conversation, which went something like this. "Karen, I want my dog. Give me my fur baby. Come here, Curly." She then stormed into the building, even though no one is allowed inside without a mask or permission, both of which she lacked. Karen, "Curly, my baby boy." Receptionist, "Ma'am, you can't be in here. The canine caretakers bring the dogs outside to you." Karen, "Be quiet and give me my dog." Receptionist, "Do you have a leash? It's hotel policy that dogs can't go outside without one." Karen, "No, I don't have a leash. Give me yours," referring to me. Me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is my personal leash. If you need one, I'd be happy to get you a spare from the hotel." Karen, "No, I want yours." Me, "Ma'am, please don't yell. I wouldn't want Curly to feel anxious." Karen, "Then give me your leash." Me, "I'm sorry, but I can't do that." Karen, "Fine, then I'll just take my dog and go. Don't expect me to do business with you again." At this point, I handed Curly over to her, only to realize my mistake immediately. Me, "Ma'am, it's hotel policy that dogs cannot leave the premises without a leash or harness. I can still get you a spare if you'd like." Karen, "Just give me my dog. I don't have time for this nonsense." Me, getting sarcastic, "But Curly is a boy, ma'am. How could he be the one you're referring to?" I knew I could have gotten in trouble for that remark, but at that moment it felt completely worth it. Karen was furious. Her face turned red as she stomped her foot like a child throwing a tantrum. Karen, "If you don't give me my dog right now, I'll sue you for keeping him from me. This is illegal. I'll see you in court." By this point, one of my coworkers had rushed over with one of our spare leashes and quickly handed it to her. She snatched it out of their hand, muttering a string of unpleasant words under her breath before loudly declaring that she would never do business with us again. Honestly, we hear that a lot. Entitled customers like her always threaten never to return, yet somehow they always find their way back. Once she was gone, my manager approached me. He had clearly witnessed the entire exchange and gave me an amused look before saying, "For a girl, you've got some real courage. Good move." I know that might not have been the most professional remark, but I wasn't about to complain. I was honestly thrilled he said it. Then, this morning, my phone buzzed with a message from my manager. Apparently, Karen had come back with Curly. She needed to travel to the city and couldn't take him with her, so she was dropping him off at the hotel again. Of course, she didn't return with any sort of apology. Instead, she made a point to remind my manager using colorful language that I needed to know what I did. "Oh, trust me, Karen. I know exactly what I did. I followed hotel policy and dealt with yet another entitled customer. And while I know I'll probably have to see her again eventually, today is my day off, so I'm enjoying every second of it." Story 5. Hello. I hope everyone is having a better day than I have, and please excuse my language, but holy shit, I literally feel like my parents are driving me up the walls of my 8-foot by 7-foot bedroom. I'm not exactly sure where to start because there's just been way too much over my 20 or so years of living, most of which has unfortunately been with them. I wouldn't say my parents are abusive, at least physically, and there's definitely people who have it worse out there. But I seriously feel like there's no respect given when they expect it on a silver platter. They never take my word for things, always seem to think I'm lazy or over-exaggerating any pain I'm in. And I have a sneaky suspicion that they're gaslighting me. But who am I to know? I'm just a 20-something-year-old kid that's gone through therapy while they're actively refusing it. To get a little sense of myself without giving too much away, because they'd totally come across this at some point in their lives and basically cry and point fingers at me for painting them in a bad light. But I'm in my 20s, have been mentally ill for over a decade now, have multiple diagnoses, been to crisis stabilization unit CSU a handful of times, have had wellness checks due to running out the door, while at risk to myself basically a manhunt due to the state I was in when I left the house, survived through multiple traumatic events, although mostly non-life-threatening but still traumatic and upsetting. I have moved about 10 times within my short life, so far 5 of which have been out of the bigger city I live in to smaller towns, about 2-3 hours from city limits, dealt with abusive and manipulative romantic relationships, an ever-changing friend group because most people my age that I've met have no interest in being mature, don't think about the future, and don't care how their actions or words affect others, only themselves. Most people, not all. I have quite a bit of physical health issues, a few diagnoses, have had lots of procedures and tests done, mostly no results, and am almost always in some kind of pain. Don't want to say chronic because there's no diagnosis of that, and half the time my pain is waved off as being dramatic by health professionals, family and friends alike. For myself, personality-wise, I'm not a bullshitter. I don't like lies, or dishonesty has gotten me in trouble more times than it should have. A lot of people don't understand why I bring up my trauma, feelings, opinions, or experiences. They just think I'm looking for attention. I do this because I've gone through group therapy, I've gone through the mental health classes, and see a psychiatrist regularly. Your words hold power, insight to things you might have never realized otherwise, give comfort to someone who's going through the ringer, or even inspire others to better themselves. I've been silenced most my life, worried about looking bad or not being attractive enough, thinking others will think I'm stupid or something, and literally silenced, because any time I spoke a word other than to agree, I was punished or screamed at. I'm done silencing myself. In my own mother's words, if the truth hurts, so be it. Obviously, I'm not completely heartless. I won't walk up to someone and say, "You look like shit." That's just uncalled for. I'm a very kind person, generous, incredibly stubborn, opinionated, but not so set in it that I'll actively deny or declare something true or false when presented with the facts and evidence. Fiercely loyal has also gotten me in trouble. Oopsies. And I do work hard considering what I've been going through. I hate hurting others to the point I will hold it in until I burst, most times ending up hurting them either way. The words I tell myself when I feel down aren't, "I'm not good looking enough," "I'm not rich or successful enough," "I'm fat or ugly," etc. They're internalized words that I've been told repeatedly by those around me. People who can't seem to realize how hard or painful I have things. Suck it up. Your pain isn't as bad as mine isn't bad at all. You're being dramatic. Meanwhile, I'm on the floor crying in pain because I can't feel my legs, and my back is on fire. Anytime I even come close to laying flat-backed, I literally can't get up without pain that lasts for the rest of the day, sometimes several days, if I can even get up on my own. The times my back twinges, my legs go numb, and I go crashing to the floor, only to say, "Oh, I'm fine, it's just my back," because I've been made to believe nothing's wrong with my back, that my pain is imaginary. Or, the time I had an infection after I had a procedure done that I started showing symptoms for the day our vacation started, but didn't say anything because we were out of town on holidays. Everyone with a license was drunk, ambulance ride is too expensive, and I'm a burden being dramatic. Obviously not. Everyone was too drunk to realize I slept the entire time and barely ate anything. Also, our vacation was a week long, 7 whole days, and I got in trouble for giving the cold shoulder. Or, the time I thought I was actively dying because I was literally shaking and sweating from the pain, but didn't say anything until 14 hours into it because what if I'm just being paranoid or dramatic? Embarrassed to admit, I wasn't dying, I just had gas so bad I thought something was seriously wrong, spiraled into the whole what-ifs and did the worst thing imaginable, asked Google, and I couldn't pass gas or go to the bathroom for those full 14 hours. but I was in serious pain. Like, who knew a backed-up fart bubble could hurt so bad? Completely serious. It rivaled the pain from my 7-day infection that I slept through most of. Don't know how I can fake that kind of pain while also being terrified that I'm dying. But as always, you're being dramatic, D. Or, whenever I'm asked if I'm tired and I say no, well, why do you look like shit then? Cue in the biggest sigh of my life, I have a migraine. Oh, it's just a headache. Suck it up. You should be at work. This is why you can't keep a job. You're always staying home over the little things. Pop a pill and power through it. I wish I could sigh so big that I'd literally blow you away with the force. Yes, I would love to power through the pain, if the lights didn't make my head feel like it's going to explode. The smell of whatever is making this worse doesn't make me feel like I'm constantly needing to throw up, but can't. If I can even focus on anything with how blurry my eyesight is. Not to mention the amount of times I've scared myself shitless because I keep seeing shadows move when no one is home, and how my mental capacity is going a mile a minute while my mouth is slower than a snail. Oh, also the fear of pills losing their effects that you instilled into me at a young age, so now I feel guilty or terrified anytime I take pills. But yeah, just pop a pill and power through. Why are you freaking out? The car was closer to me. Why isn't anyone worrying about me? I have anxiety and have almost been hit by cars over a dozen times, not to mention the accidents I've been in while in a vehicle. My panic attack is real. Your whiny words are just begging for attention that you're not getting. You ruined our night out, thanks. I was having a panic attack because my abusive biological father had contacted me when I told him not to. Oh, and my grandparent is dead, D. You're so lazy. You don't have a job and are always sitting around. Nope, not lazy. Just in a severe amount of pain. Have a 4-day migraine. Haven't slept more than 8 hours within the week, averaging 1-2 hours a night. If I don't pull an all-nighter to make sure I get to all my appointments, job interviews on time, back hurts so much and gives out so randomly that I don't trust myself to do anything around the house without seriously injuring myself. Have been in and out of the bathroom for the last 8 hours, not fun. Don't recommend. Haven't worked because of that pain. Actually have a little side job I work at when I'm not in too much pain, but by no means would be considered stable income. But I'm not doing nothing. You're selfish and abusive. Why is asking for help when I'm in the middle of a breakdown, about to do something harmful to myself? Selfish? I'm upset. I'm breaking down. I'm actively not okay, and you're calling me abusive and selfish? You hurt me. I'm the one traumatized by your actions, and you want to twist it around to make everyone believe I attacked you because I was unstable? You're batshit crazy. Why are you calling me crazy? For having emotions, feelings that you never taught me how to deal with, experiences and situations you downplay and tell me I'm making up. You don't live in my head. You weren't even there. Now, instead of dealing with my emotions in a healthy, positive way, I turn inwards and harm myself. I hide things and run away because in your eyes, I'm crazy. I'm fed up to the point that yes, now I'm acting like the crazy person because I'm fed up with your lies about me and constantly being made to feel like a bad person for feeling things and reacting badly in the past. Now I will act badly, not because I can't react differently, but because if you want to make me out to be the monster, I will be the monster, all right. I will dig deep and hit hard because it's either you or me at this point, and I'm tired of letting others constantly beat me down. I refused professional help for almost 4 years because I truly thought I was crazy. I didn't want to admit it by going to get help because only crazy people need professional help. This is absolutely not true. It was what I believed due to conditioning and manipulation. Seeking professional help does not make you crazy. It just means you're going through a tough time and need some extra help. It wasn't until I started talking to someone around my age who'd also gone through a lot of shit in his life that the belief of, I'm crazy, turned to, it's okay to need help sometimes. Needing help doesn't make me crazy, it means I'm human. To be honest, if I had never talked to him, I'd still be at square one and thinking that I was crazy. It took me until I was 20 to finally realize that needing help is okay, that it's not being crazy. It took me another 3 years to realize that I don't have issues mostly. Everyone has an issue with me and is telling me what I need to do. Not giving advice like, I think you should. But, you're crazy, you need to be on meds. If you don't like being this way being something they caused, then you have to take meds. I don't have to take meds because the issues you see aren't real issues. I don't have an issue with it. You're telling me that I do. I'm not abusive. I've gone through shit and I'm healing. I wasn't taught how to express myself in healthy ways. I was taught that when you don't feel good, you hurt others. I'm not abusive because I will take 99 horrible things you say and then break on that last one. Then the monster comes out. Then the abuser comes out, which really is brought on by your constant negativity. People really don't understand that when I say I absolutely loathe myself, that it's not because of being in a shitty place in life. It's because of how shitty I've been made to feel any time I speak up about any mistreatment towards me. I've been made out to be the bad guy. I'm the crazy one. I'm the abuser. I'm the problem. Because it's never them, is it? The more I go through this, the more I think I have a lot of narcissistic people in my life, and am totally being manipulated. But was told all the time that I had a good childhood, and shouldn't complain about that fact, when it really wasn't a good childhood. Not the worst, but not the best either. So, the question is, what caused me to snap tonight? Well, I'm a little embarrassed to say that apparently dishes are going missing, and my parents are going to be searching our rooms if the dishes are not returned by tomorrow afternoon. Honestly, there's been more going on. This is just the straw that broke the camel's back. I'm over 20 years old, I'm not a child, I'm stuffed into a tiny 7-foot by 8-foot room with barely enough room for my things. Most of my stuff is in storage. I can't enjoy all the things I like to do because it's all in storage. I do get claustrophobic at times, sensory overloads and all. I do have bad anxiety and panic attacks brought on by feeling stuck, trapped, or having something taken from me, Couldn't think of why I'd have that specific fear. Not at all. Not at all. My room is so small and so cramped that I have to stand on my bed to get out of it. It's on the floor with a box spring. I don't even have a bed frame. My room keeps an inconsistent temperature. I deal with hot flashes and suddenly feeling cold due to poor blood circulation. Feeling too hot can and will cause a migraine. I'm made to feel bad if I spend too much time in the shared living room. If I get upset that the bathroom is disgusting, it's not my siblings' fault, apparently, even though it's been a complaint I've had for over 15 years and they've been hounded about it since 15 years ago. Not their fault, not at all. I'm made to feel bad for getting overwhelmed and snapping sensory overload anxiety, while everyone else can snap at me and I have to keep my mouth shut about it, or else a huge fight will ensue. I get blamed for things that I've never done or have ever done. A certain object was left in the bathroom, an object I don't even use. But blame was automatically put on me before even asking me if the object was mine. Also, I was never told what said object was, so I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here based on how the convo went and how disgusted my parents seemed. Was literally blamed for an object that they actively refused to name. When I get a talking to, I'm never allowed to speak until they're done, so I basically get in shit berated for something I either didn't do or had a specific and very valid reason for doing. Anytime I try to talk, I get talked over until there's no point in me talking unless I'm yelling. But me yelling turns into them yelling, turns to screaming, turns to me trying to escape because I've been pushed to my limit and I will have a meltdown, all while they're still screaming at me as I try to get some space. I do something, it's the end of the world. Anyone else does something in the house, then a million excuses are being made for them. More so for one of my siblings since they're also mentally ill. But I'm mentally ill. Yet their issues trump mine, I guess. My issues aren't as bad. My issues don't matter. Who knows? Because no one will tell me what's going on or why there's excuses being made for someone that also has mental health issues. But I'm not getting the same treatment. Yes, this sibling is also an adult. The few reasons I can think of on why they do this is that I'm the eldest. I was the test baby. So they're doing better for my siblings. Except it isn't better, because no one talks about their feelings. My siblings literally feel like shit anytime they try to express themselves, apologize for bringing up something that hurt them, apologizing profusely in general, and both have history of harmful behaviors. But no, they've done better for my siblings. Another reason I can think of is that they have stupidly high expectations of me. Apparently, I'm the one going to university in their eyes. None of my siblings, even though one does really want to go to university, but they don't need to. Basically saying they're not smart enough because they're always saying that I got perfect grades in school when I didn't. They put so much pressure on me that when I failed my first and only class ever, I spiraled into a 4-month depression and almost doomed myself not to graduate with my peers. But yeah, I'm the one that can handle the stress of university. I passed that year with 60s, not sure what that equates to in like A, B, or C, when normally my grades are in the high 80s. Definitely not as good as they make it seem since my siblings did get some good grades, one even getting a few grades higher than I did. The only other reason I can think of is I'm not biologically related to my stepdad, while my siblings are. Summed up version is that I've never felt like a part of the family. There's always been kind of an emphasis on my stepdad's last name, one I don't share with him, but everyone else in my immediate family does. Emphasis on the fact that since I don't share his DNA, there's nothing wrong with me. That I'm not a concern mentally. Only for years later, actually almost 10 years, I'm royally fucked up. And not in like a self-deprecating way. I'm literally traumatized and have mental health diagnoses that probably could have been prevented if I was taken seriously when I was younger. I wasn't socially anxious, I was stubborn and shy. I wasn't having panic attacks while talking in class, I was being difficult. The bullying wasn't that bad. Meanwhile, death threats are being thrown, and I'm being labeled as easy. If people catch my drift, I wasn't easy. I was just plain taken advantage of. And everything got downplayed. Everything wasn't a big deal. Because when my sibling was being bullied, there were meetings, there were talks to the other kids' parents. Principal was involved, teachers involved. But nothing for me. I'm just being dramatic. All these things combined is making me feel that if I wasn't batshit crazy before, I'm sure as hell gonna be soon. I feel so frustrated, angry, unloved, unwanted, disrespected, lied to, manipulated, useless, hopeless. I'm tired. I'm just plain tired of all this. My parents claim to have changed from 6 years ago, when the only thing that's changed is the volume of their voices. They're still exactly the same, still say the same things, still end up yelling anyways whenever there's a talk because I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one being disrespectful, rude, and have an attitude. All because I'm finally standing up for myself. I have moved out, back in, back out, back in so many times that I know. They haven't changed. They won't even acknowledge there's issues. It's only me that has issues. I'm the one that needs to go to therapy. I'm the one that needs to be on meds. I'm the one that needs to be sent to a psych ward. I'm the one that just can't get a fucking break. I'm tired of this. I really am. I love my family. I really do. I'm grateful for the things they have done for me, but I'd be lying if I said they did more good than bad. They've helped me out when I was actively wanting to disappear. But the trauma I received while in their homes honestly feels like I'm worse than when I started accepting that I had problems 6 years ago. Back then, it was just anxiety, depression, and trauma from the first 15 or so years of my life. Now it's so much more. Serious diagnoses that could be debilitating, psychosis, dissociation, serious trauma. All because they won't change. I did not start off broken down. They beat me down and down and down, and still choose to beat me down. I am done. I am tired. I just want a freaking break that'll never come from them. Also, just as a clarification, not actively wanting to disappear, just really done with people's abuse and mistreatment. And nothing physical.